All right, seeing that it's 6 o'clock, I'll call the October 17, 2016 City Council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnett?
Present.
Mr. Austin?
Here.
Mr. Abbott?
Yeah.
Mr. Alt?
Here.
Mr. Agers?
Here.
Mr. Fox?
Here.
Mr. Wertz?
Here.
Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. Invocation of pledge, if you would, please, Mr. Wertz.
Let's bow our head. Father, be with this city and be with our military men and women around the world who protect our freedoms. Be with our fire department and our police department and allow them to do the work to protect our city of Franklin. Be with each of our city employees who allow us to have an awesome city. Be with our city council and mayor and allow us to do the fiduciary responsibilities for our community. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Announcements and presentations. I'm going to start off. We actually have the honor of swearing in a couple of our new men that Mr. Wertz just prayed for. We have a new police officer and a new firefighter. So tonight on the agenda, we'll get to the firefighter second. Sorry, you were on the police officer is actually on the agenda. So the swearing in probationary officer Zach Russell. So Zach, if you and your family would like to come forward. So if you would just repeat after me. I, Zachary A. Russell,
I, Zachary A. Russell,
a member of the Franklin, Indiana
a member of the Franklin, Indiana
Police Department,
Police Department,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Indiana,
of the State of Indiana,
and I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
all my official duties.
all my official duties.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
I'm in no way, shape, or form putting police over fire. Well, they do carry guns, so. If you would please raise your right hand, just repeat after me, and I'll try to jot it down just like Officer Russell. I, Preston Stark,
I, Chris Stark,
have been appointed to the office
have been appointed to the office
of firefighter
of firefighter
in the City of Franklin Fire Department.
in the City of Franklin Fire Department.
I swear that I will support
I swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States of America
the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana
and the rules and regulations
and the rules and regulations
of the Franklin Fire Department,
of the Franklin Fire Department.
that I will obey all the lawful orders
I will obey all lawful orders
of my superior officers
of my superior officers
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties of said office
the duties of said office
to the best of my
to
ability.
the best of my ability.
Congratulations. It's about time, Preston.
I know, yeah.
Make sure you stab it once or twice.
We don't wait around on police officers. Today was your first day. Preston's been on the job for a couple months now. So we don't wait around.
Congratulations.
Again, congratulations. Thank you to your families up front, because it will be obviously a demanding job, and sometimes it's not the most, it's not the job that you get the most thanks and appreciation for. So thank you to the families as well. You guys are more than welcome to hang out if you want and watch the rest of this council meeting, or you can leave and go actually have some quality family time. So you're welcome. If you want to leave, I would not be offended at all. Do you have any other public comments, announcements? Hearing none, we'll move into consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve minutes from October 3rd.
Second.
A motion by Barnett, second by Ayers. All those in favor?
Aye.
I abstain, I was not here.
Please let the record reflect that Mr. Woods abstained. Next is old business. All are set for public hearing.
Make a motion to approve all under old business by title only.
Second.
Motion by Barnett, second by Austin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. First item is Common Council Ordinance 1611, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Franklin authorizing investment of public funds pursuant to Indiana Code 5-13-9-5.7.
Hang on just a second. Can we have Mr. Barnett rephrase his motion to read by title only, not approve by title only?
Oh, is that the motion? Well, you've already approved it then.
I heard read. Okay.
I
do it
will-
again.
Okay, I will make a motion that we read all under old business by title only.
Second.
Motion by Barnett, second by Austin. All those in favor?
Aye.
I heard your aye came in late.
I was like, I think you said approve, so.
All right. So the first item is ordinance 1611, ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Franklin authorizing investment of public funds pursuant to Indiana Code 5-13-9-5.7. This was presented to you gentlemen a couple of weeks ago. Standard procedure that occurs every year for the Treasurer's Office. It is also set for public hearing and also adoption if you so choose. So at this time, I'll open up for public comments. I think so I'll close the public comment section. Any discussion?
Move to approve Common Council Ordinance 1611. Second. Authorizing investment of public funds.
Motion by Agers, second by Adam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is Common Council Budgetary Ordinance number 1616, authorizing additional appropriation to appropriate funds from an insurance refund check. Again, this was in front of you a couple of weeks ago from Chief O'Sullivan in regards to being able to purchase 3 new Motorola radios from an insurance check that was received, a total of $9,730. Again, public comment. Anyone has anything? Hearing none, I'll close the public comment. Open it up for discussion or approval.
Mayor, move to approve. Second.
Motion by Austin, second by Avon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. New business.
Motion to read all under new business by title only.
Second.
Motion by Barnett, second by Agers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. First item is request to read submitted bids for SCBA equipment bids. Chief McLean.
First, I'd like to, Jason, you like to come up, put you on the spot. This is the main behind the grant. It wasn't for Jason. In 2019, we sprayed on for $250,000+ to buy new air packs. So I just want to say thank you, Jason, for all your hard work. You took this project on last year and did a lot of homework, a lot of research. So you're my official grant writer right now. But thank you, Jason. This is a 10% match grant. We put it out for bid with Jason and Division Chief Andrew. We brought different companies came in. We let them in, test the air packs. Long story short, we put it out for bid. We had 3 companies pick up the information, and only 1 turned information back in. 3 companies picked up the information, and only 1 turned information back in. 3 companies picked up the information, and only 1 turned information back in. 3 companies picked up the information, and only 1 turned information back in. 3 companies picked up the information, and only 1 turned information back in. 3 companies picked up the information, and only 1 turned information back in. 3 companies picked up the information, and only 1 turned information back in. 3 companies picked up the information, and only 1 turned information back in. 3 companies picked up the information, and only 1 turned information back in. 3 companies picked up the information, and only 1 turned information back in. 3 companies picked up the information, and only 1 turned information back in. 3 companies picked up the information, and only 1 turned information back in. 3 companies picked up the information, and only 1 turned information back in. 3 companies picked up the information, and only Fire alarm turned the information back in, and their price is $237,175. We'll review the information to see if they've had the proposal we put together, and then we'll come back November 7th with that information.
Yeah, the bids were just received today. We just opened the Board of Works meeting this evening. And so the total prices, as Chief mentioned, from Five Alarm was $237,175. Again, this is a 10% match from our end. So the question came up, and of course the Board of Works was who's paying for it. So, well, to be honest with you, we'll probably be coming back to the council when the time is appropriate and asking for an additional appropriation of the $23,717.50, would be the 10%. As Chief mentioned, the equipment expires in 2019. And so without the grant, we would obviously be having to write a check for $250,000 for buying some equipment. So we'll be coming
The
back.
largest thing that expires is meter box. I don't want to mislead and think that they air packs with a mask, but, this equipment is becoming 15 years old. So there's going to be a lot of drywall and rot, and a lot of wear and tear on the air packs and the mask. But definitely in 2019, all the air bottles are of their life and would have to be replaced.
So this includes bottles as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just the hose.
Yeah, the whole kit and caboodle, the mask and air pack, the air bottles.
Just making sure.
And how many is it? How many cents?
48 masks, enough packs.
35 packs, 90 bottles, 3 rip packs for the trucks, 3 stations.
It's something right, we were limited to, we only could ask for so many masks for so many people, we can add a mask or add together the air packs.
Chief, you say 3 companies picked up the bids and only 1 responded.
Yes, sir.
Is there any reason why that is?
I honestly don't know.
Who was the manufacturer of the mask that responded?
There were some things that when we tested all the air packs, some of the feedback with the men preferred, didn't prefer. One of the biggest factors was we didn't want things hanging off the mask. Voice amplifiers, thermal imaging cameras hanging off the mask. So when we wrote the spec, that was one thing that we kind of wrote in the spec. I'm not sure the exact verbiage on it, would prefer not to have things hanging off your mask. They could create entanglement hazards and things like that.
Will these new acts, SCBA apparatus, will they be interchangeable with the rest of the county?
The rest of the county, a lot of them are on Scott's. MSA, I think we were probably the only one with MSA. MSA is what we have now.
New Whiteland has,
MSA. The bottles are interchangeable. No, they quick grip.
it's just MSA, Scott has their own.
But I'll be honest, in my 17-year career, we have enough spare bottles that we never had to ever rely on taking a bottle from another fire department.
Well, 15 years ago when we did this, that was one of the big selling points, was to make sure that we were interchangeable with the rest of the county. So I'm just seeing if it was going to be that way now.
Council, I would indicate that in the RFP, I had also inserted provisions in there that alternate bids of any type would be obtained. So it wasn't limited just to those specs. I think you indicated you were a good idea, and that was in there. They just didn't seem to follow.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the specs were not fit for.
You had advised me not to do that, and I included alternate bid requests. You're welcome, sir.
There was nothing in the proposal that no company could match.
Okay.
They could add an exception to it.
It just worries me when only one company responds to such a large RFQ. So that's all I was worried about.
Thank you. There's no approval required of you, gentlemen, tonight. It was just information and also give you a heads up that this do that. I don't know, do you know when the payment will be due? Is it 2016 or 2017?
There, I believe payment would be, now, one thing we have to look at is, we borrow the money from FEMA. We tell FEMA we need the 200-some-odd thousand. If it goes over 30 days, we have to pay interest. So we have to kind of time this out. Last time I spoke with all these reps, the equipment will come in, they'll do like 3 days worth of training, and it will be billed for it. So the ultimate goal would be to secure all the money, so that once we get that bill, we can try to get that process within that 30-day window. So we're not paying interest to FEMA.
And I'm going from memory, which is dangerous, but I believe the bid spec said open for 60 days. From the date, 60-day bid.
So we'll find out. If the payment is due this year, yes, you'll see it again on November 7th. If it's not until 2017, you'll probably not see it until first meeting in January. So we'll see it in all this time.
I think we have what, till April of 2017 to spend money through FEMA.
Seems like it'd be a lot better for everyone if we waited until 2017 to secure.
Yeah, if that works out, that's what it's
And probably as close as we are with the end of the year, time we get the tax order, they get shipped in, we get the training, we're gonna be pushing the end of the year.
What's the turnaround time to place the audit?
I'm sorry.
The turnaround time from time to place the audit and everything's delivered.
Jason, you remember what some of the reps were telling us?
This is gonna be 2017.
Yeah.
It's like a 60-day, once we place it, it's gonna be 60 days. And then we have that training period, and once everything's in service, and nothing's broken, then they'll submit the bill, and by that time, it'll be 2017.
That'll put us in the first of the year.
Good deal.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Next is Common Council Budgetary Resolution number 1608, budgetary resolution authorizing a transfer from Police 300 services to Police 200 supplies in the amount of $20,000. Just for information, this is a resolution, so if you so choose, you can act on this tonight. Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. That's exactly it. I'm requesting to transfer $20,000 from our 300 series to our 200 series to just for the expenditures throughout the rest of the year.
We'll make a motion to approve Common Council Budgetary Resolution 16-08.
Motion by Word, second by Adam. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Next is Common Council Resolution 1615, establishing an economic revitalization area, urban area. Welcome.
Good evening, Kristen Leakey, Community Development Director. I'm here tonight. I am joined by Tim Conrad, who's representing Nicole and Anthony Raines on this project. As you might recall, this is the former Marsh property on North Main Street. It's been vacant for a number of years, and so one of their incentives for locating in this property is the vacant building deduction. This is a newer tool that we've started using throughout the city. We use it on the project across the street, the B2S Labs. We also used it for Electrospecs, old location, and their new tenant was True Blood Oil. So this is a partnership with the property owner, where the property owner is the legal recipient of this tax abatement that they've worked out through their lease agreement, that they would actually receive the benefit of the abatement. The recommendation from the City Council is for 3 years vacant building abatement at 100% abatement. And this is different from a real property or a personal property abatement. This is not on the increase in assessed value. This is for the full property tax bill. So this would be the existing property tax bill, and then it would be whatever the increased assessed value is once they're finished with construction on the project. This area has not been determined economic development target area. That's the difference between the economic revitalization area, that's the industrial term, the commercial term is the economic development target area. So the first step in this process is to declare the area an economic development target area. That is followed up. We are required by Indiana code to publish that for a confirming resolution, which would come back to you at your November meeting, your first meeting in November. Once that public hearing is held, then the target area is then determined, and then you can actually act on the vacant building tax deduction. So tonight is just the introduction of the first of a series of 3 resolutions in order to accomplish this one vacant building deduction. So I can answer any questions that you might have. The project applicants are here as well and are able to answer any questions you might have as well.
Chris, if council is so inclined, they can act on the resolution 2016-15 tonight, is that correct?
Yes.
But I noticed in the context of the resolution when I read it, thank you for educating me about it, I appreciate it. When I read it in the statute, this indicates economic revitalization area in our is actually economic target area?
They're one and the same, it's just a change. I mean, I probably should change that in the actual resolution, yeah. But it is, I use the same template for both of them for these things. We've declared the downtown economic development target area, that was done many years ago. I know when the Lowe's was built, we did that as an economic development target area. There haven't been a lot of these, but when they're commercially zoned versus industrial zone, that's the technical term.
I just thought because I was looking at different parts of the statute.
Yeah,
you
I can-
directly do it,
yeah, I can make
it might
that
be better
change.
suited to same target.
Sure.
Will Landmark be doing any improvements to the parking area?
That was actually part of their request for assistance, is that it is in bad shape. There, in your packet, there's an estimate for the parking lot improvement. And we've had discussions about the potential to approach the redevelopment commission for assistance with that. Unfortunately, that's not anything that is covered by any of the standing programs through the Franklin Development Corporation. Those only deal with the facade or anything with the actual building itself, interior or exterior, and parking is not included in that. So I think that's still your intention, is to try to follow up with the redevelopment commission on that.
Joe, the estimate for the parking lot repair was page 9.
Yeah, I missed that.
I think it's about $9,800.
9886.
Yeah.
Which I was surprised, as big as the lot is and as bad a shape as it is,
Yeah.
I thought $10,000 wasn't that bad.
And there was, that property was used for a lot of cut-through access during the North Main Street project as well.
And it
so-
still is.
Yeah, and it's still, I mean, I use it. But yeah, it's heavily traveled, so.
And how many employees?
Steve, it's,
There's 2 full-time jobs. The majority of their staff is gonna be part-time, so they will be the 2 full-time employees.
The urban area, the first one in the state that's opened up.
Sir, could you just, for the benefit of Kathy, could you come up so she can accurately report it? Thank you.
I just want to thank you guys for your support in the project to start with. But the first urban area opened up down in Ellisville about 2 months ago. And it's all based on how many attractions you have as far as employees go, but she has around 60 part-time. It's mainly high school, college, part-time jobs, and then all your full-time managers. So and then of course, the longer we're open, you can add attractions, which is gonna grow employees. So it's based on how many attractions you have, basically.
so I think on your application, you had 40 or 50?
Yeah, without having the actual layout and that deep in the process, we just came up with a number that's kind of low, actually. I think it's gonna be more, around 60, and maybe even more.
But Steve, to answer your question, there's 2 full-time employees, correct?
Yes, that's right. 2 to 3 is the managers, and then you have all your employees.
Well, I think the demographics are good for them. Part-time, when it gives them, some of the students a different opportunity other than, grocery stores.
Exactly.
What's your target date to open up?
March is when we're hoping to get them. We're still negotiating for the building and all the other variables, but that's when I'd like to be open.
So could you give just a quick overview of what, I know I've read the packet, but what it's all about? Maybe just a quick 2-second overview of what this is.
Yeah. People may be familiar with Sky Zone, it's the indoor trampoline park. Urban area's kind of going in a different direction. I mean, trampolines are always going to be part of it. They've been in people's backyards for 100 years, so people love them. But they're going to an entertainment park, and actually in 2017 they'll change their name to that. They have anything from climbing walls to American Ninja Warrior, if you've ever seen that. They have the Warrior course. The bigger ones in Texas have the indoor skydiving, which is something we'd like to bring later on. It's very expensive. So they're outside of trampolines. It's just all the fun part, basically. And we will have programs with the schools. They do in other communities where you bring in the school and then we give 20% back. They give them their Spirit Week. And they bring this, instead of maybe going to the skating rink, they come to us, they get exercise, and then we give 20% back to the schools. Any other questions?
Just to let the council know that it was a majority approval for the 3-year abatement, at 100%.
But tonight, the only thing we're doing is just establishing this area as a target area for
Yes.
economic redevelopment, right?
Yes.
Yes, correct.
And then once you do that, we have to then notice it, that it's going to be considered, 10-day notice, public notice is required by statute. Send out a notice so that there can be a public hearing before you actually consider the actual abatement, so.
Which would be November, most likely November 7th.
Right.
Well, if there's nothing else, I would move to approve Common Council Resolution 1615, establishing an economic revitalization target area. Is that the way it's supposed to be?
Yeah.
With that change in that resolution.
Second.
Motion by Eggers, second by Austin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item is Common Council Resolution 1619, granting a personal property tax abatement for NSK.
Thank you. So this request is on behalf of NSK Corporation. The Economic Development Commission has recommended to you a 7-year abatement at the standard percentages for a 7-year abatement with a 5% economic development fee. This project is part of a phase, it's kind of an evolving process, I would say, from an abatement that was granted in 2013. There was a $20 million personal property abatement granted to NSK in 2013. And in the 2 years that we've done compliance since then, I think the total amount invested has been about, I think we're up to $9 million of the $20 million. So what we have discussed is in order to kind of clean up the process, because this is a multi-phase project, that this particular line would be assigned its own specific resolution for compliance purposes. And then we would go back and amend that previous abatement that was granted in 2013 to kind of clear up those figures. Because every year at compliance time, we come back to, well, you're only at 9 million and you're supposed to be at 20 million, but really they had, I think, like 5 or 6 years for it all to get spent anyway, so it just is confusing. So they're not out of compliance by any means. It's just kind of more of a housekeeping, and I think it would make it easier for us in-house and also for the county to track the specific equipment separately.
We've done something like this before.
We have, yeah.
So that's fine, it's not.
Right, so Kyle Steens is here representing NSK tonight. He can answer any questions that you might have about the project. He's also provided you with a brief handout to kind of explain the specifics of this project. So Kyle, if you'd like to come up and just walk them through that handout to give you a brief overview.
Krista, real quick, when you just mentioned that you're going to separate this line, are you referring to a manufacturing line that you're going to have as
Yes.
a singular entity?
Yes, Kyle can explain that much better than I can.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Kyle Steens, plant manager of the NSK Corporation Hub Bearing Plant. Just for clarification, on our campus, we have 2 manufacturing plants. One is NSK Precision America, and one is NSK Hub Plant. So I'm representing Hub Plant. So with that, with this project, as Krista explained, we have a total of $6.625 million capital project, and it is for
two separate manufacturing lines. One is reinvestment in an existing line. That's the key thing and where the jobs discussion comes in, is that we have a very old line, 20 plus years old, and it is a semi-automatic line where there are several manual assembly operations in it. And we are going to first overhaul that line and modernize it to a fully automatic line. The total labor required to operate that line will be less than what it is today, but it allows us to increase the capacity on that one line from around 35,000 pieces to over 50,000 pieces per month. And then that allows us to take on this project. In addition to that, we have to install one complete brand new line. And that one brand new line will be a $4 million investment. So the first piece is reinvestment in the existing line, which is rather old, antiquated technology. That's the $2.6 million piece. And the $4 million piece is for the complete new line. So the condition is that the current line, the manual line, the 20-year-old line, will be going idle within the next 6-8 months due to the fact that the business presently on that line is declining. It's for automotive manufacturing. The particular model that line supports is ending production, and it's changing to a different product type for which we're not going to produce. So that line will become idle. So without this new project, those jobs effectively would be lost. So it takes 12 people to operate that manual line. So the good news is we've been awarded this new business from a totally new customer, and that will allow us to employ 12 operators, plus we're adding 1 engineer to support the new capital. So therefore, we wrote the request. We showed the retention of 12 jobs, plus 1 new engineer. So there is a gap in time when the line would effectively be idle, but yet before the new program would start. So in that case, I want to kind of draw that distinction of without this new business, those jobs would be declining just due to natural changes within the industry, the timeline of the current question. Okay.
You could just go briefly overview on the new line.
I can. So I did give you a handout, and this has some information about NSK Global. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that, but just for everyone's understanding and awareness, so NSK is a global company, and this year, you notice the day of establishment, November 8th, 1916. So here in just a few short weeks, we are celebrating 100 years as a company. So we're really proud of that. I want to make sure everybody knows it. But it gives you some basic statistics about the company and explains the products that we're supporting. Primarily, our main product type being automotive bearings, which this particular project fits right within. It also kind of goes and kind of showcases our portfolio of different companies, manufacturing locations globally, and talks a little bit about NSK Americas specifically, which NSK Corporation is part of NSK Americas. So just kind of gives you an idea about our network. And then again, some more specifics just about the U.S. Locations, more details about this Franklin plant, which I am the plant manager of. So we do presently employ 260 employees, and are working hard to make it a great place to work. That's what I tell all our employees. That's my job, is to make it a good place to work, and we're trying to improve that condition. So again, I kind of explained the background on the second to last slide, and kind of detailed out some of the investment requirements, with the first section being the 2.6, the second section being the $4 million investment there. So, okay.
One thing I'll point out that Kyle's probably not he's not going to bring it up, because we're a pretty humble group, but the last slide you see there is, I'll speak for NSK and NSK Precision. Jeremy Peters is not here with them. Thank you for not bringing him, by the way. I'm kidding, Jeremy's a great guy too. But I see them at about every community function or event I attend, whether it's a lunch or an evening gala or something. Kyle and Jeremy or a representative of them is everywhere. And They've been heavily involved, and as you can see the numbers there from United Way. In addition, they're both graduates of Leadership Johnson County and are very involved with that program as well. So on behalf of my office and the city, thank you to you and to Jeremy for all that you guys do.
Thank you. Mayor, if I could point out too, Fire Station 23 is sitting on that.
It is on their land, yes.
So, thank you on that.
Sure. One bragging point I would like to call to your attention, I'm very proud of it, is the first line item there, United Way of Johnson County employee contributions. So 2015, we contributed $31,000 in employee giving, and our campaign was just wrapped up a couple of weeks ago. We achieved $41,000 in employee giving. It's basically the same level of head count. So I'm really proud of that. Of course, that does get matched by the state corporation as well. That's just my plan, so Jeremy's plan. We're always in competition, friendly competition, I promise. But I think we got it this year.
Got one employee though, right?
Bring that up. Sorry. So any more questions about the specifics of the line? I can get into all kinds of technical details and take a lot of time, but I'll make sure I answer your questions completely.
Again, Krista, are we going to be approving abatements every year by manufacturing lines now, or what?
Well,
Or company-wide?
that is typically how we have done it in the past. We tried it with this kind of grouping into multiple phases, and the climate has changed. Things that it isn't working as well as we thought it was going to group them. So just kind of individually them out project by project. So we have a firm start date and a firm end date versus a multi-year phase project. And this has already been through resolution that was approved in 2013. It's been designated an economic revitalization area. This is industrial. So there's only one resolution for you. It can be approved this evening if you should choose to do so. And we will be back to address that, Joe. We will be back. I talked to Kyle about this earlier. We do need to formally amend that abatement from 2013 and reduce that amount and clarify exactly which projects are included in that. And then anything additional after this would also be a new abatement. And they have multiple abatements. They've always had multiple abatements going at the same time. And they report on those yearly for compliance.
And Chris, let me just, the request was for 10 years, but the resolution you presented to us is for 7.
Right, so the recommendation of the Economic Development Commission based on the number of jobs and the average hourly wage. And I think Kyle did a great job explaining the retention of the jobs, but it's not 100 or 200 new jobs. It is retention of jobs and one new job. And so I think that was the reasoning. Ken, you may be able to explain that a little bit more, but that was the reasoning to reduce it from the 10%.
We discussed this at length, and another unilateral approval of every person on the Economic Development Commission.
I move to approve Common Council Resolution number 1619, granting personal property tax abatement for NSK as presented.
Second.
Motion by Hager, second by Austin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Next item is Common Council Resolution number 1617, confirming and authorizing the purchase of real property. Excuse me. I'll start off here with, we mentioned this at the 5 o'clock meeting. I had started having conversations probably several weeks, maybe a couple months ago, with the Johnson County Public Library. She's actually fairly new executive director, Lisa Lindner. They own a piece of ground. It's not very big. It's about a quarter acre or so.
Less than that.
Of land on South Main and Wayne Street, which would be on the northeast corner of that intersection. Several years ago, they purchased the property, which Ron probably have more knowledge than I do about it. They purchased it. I think the plan was tied in with the possibility of having a new downtown library. Obviously, was a referendum and failed for possible expansion of the library services center and incorporating the new downtown library. Obviously, that failed, so that piece of property has just been kind of sitting there, been mowing it, and that's about the extent of it. So The Wayne Street project, there was kind of two purposes for this concept. One is we know the Wayne Street project is well underway and will also require some additional public parking. In addition, our festivals and events are things to discover downtown Franklin, to get my plug in there from Marty, are ever evolving and growing, and the number of people who are attending here is growing, and so we're always looking for additional public parking for those events. So as an opportunity, we had Ronnie Oliver through Community Development Department, have her conduct a couple of appraisals to see what the cost of the price of the land was. They came out to right at $7,000 for the parcel. Approached the library and they were interested in that price as long as they did not have to incur any closing costs or legal fees, which we said we could handle that and take care of that. So what you see before you tonight is a resolution authorizing that purchase of that piece of property, which we will then turn into, as the Wayne Street project is going on today, turn that into a public and will remain a public parking lot owned and maintained by the city.
If I might add, Mr. Mayor, as board members know, this is really more informational purposes. We're not asking you for any money or any appropriations or anything, but the mayor wanted to make sure that you knew. It just seemed like the easiest way, the best way to get it out there. And we weren't required to get appraisals, but because the library board was selling it, we thought it would be a good idea so that everybody knew that it's right in the ballpark of what the property is worth. The library board has discussed this, and they meet tomorrow. I prepared this resolution, or actually a resolution for the board of works, because they are the ones who actually are required to close on everything. And then a simultaneous resolution for the library board to consider tomorrow night. And then the closing could occur very, very quickly, because the title's clean. We already know it's clean, so we're not asking you for anything other than recognizing it.
I appreciate that because it's nothing worse than getting a question we can't answer, so.
That was the mayor's instructions. You might want to know that since it's not in the library board.
Is there, I mean, you said you want to do a parking lot there, Mr. Mayor. Is there any kind of plan, or has the planning department put forth any kind of design?
Yeah, we have a design. We had that included with the Wayne Street design of that, with the ingress, egress concept. I wanted to say, and I don't see anybody in here, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 to 20 parking spaces
And,
as designed. It's because it's not a big piece of.
no, it's just a little strip, right?
And the library board, quite frankly, was tired of taking care of it.
No, I understand.
They
Have we talked to Newkirk's next door? Anything?
I have not.
Because I mean, they kind of use that area.
And we're not going to be allowing any overnight parking.
It'll be the same rules that we had for, I think our current rules for downtown parking is at 24 hours. No more than, I think it's cannot sit idle for more than 24 hours. I think that's the rules for the parking lot on the east side of the city hall. The same rules will apply to that. For the same reasons that you're thinking, is that I don't want junk cars sitting there for days and weeks on end.
I don't want public funds being put forward for a private parking lot or for a new housing.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, no, that's public.
All we need to do tonight is to approve the actual purchase of the property.
No, Mr. Technically, that's the obligation of the board of works, which they've already done. This is just acknowledging that they are buying.
We're just authorizing,
It's
confirming.
It's confirming that
Confirming resolution.
maybe you're aware of it.
For the same
Does
reasons.
the council need to take action on this?
You really don't, but I didn't want to say they're going to do it with take action or not, because they're going to cooperate. This is just recognizing.
I would make a motion for recognizing purposes that we pass approved resolution number 16-7.
Second. Motion by Barnett, second by Fox. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It was more for exactly what Mr. Adams alluded to, that you get asked, you decide to Kroger, at a ball game or something, if you want to know what's going on.
And I anticipate they'll have another deal tomorrow.
Yeah, they have, the library board has their meeting tomorrow.
Nothing worse than reading in the newspaper before you find out.
Better hear about it on Corn Country, right?
Exactly.
No other business, so council member comments.
Welcome back, Steve. Glad you're on the mend.
There's a RDC meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. And Mayor, I have a question for the council. January is an unusual one. January 2nd is the day after New Year's Eve. On the 1st is a Sunday. And the 16th is Martin Luther King Day. And you might want to check and see if we're going to have a meeting in January, which I think we should.
I think they have to. By statute, we have to.
Several people they're taking New Year's Eve on the Monday.
So you saying we should have drinks at the meeting?
What?
Change them to New Year's just for that month?
New Year's is
Oh,
the
yeah.
first, it's a Sunday.
There's 5 weeks in January, so,
Yeah.
or 5 Mondays.
Yeah.
We normally meet the first.
Right, you publish your meetings. I mean, what you do is you adopt your meeting schedules and then you publish it at the beginning of the year.
The mayor needs to think
So
about
you
it.
can do that. There was a statute previously, and that may be what some of you think, that required us to have a meeting the first week of, and that has been changed. That's the old one. There is a requirement for some meeting.
That's only an election year.
That's right, that's exactly.
I mean, we don't have to take action.
No, it's just for the mayor to see plans. You couldn't hit up with no meeting, if you're not sure.
Yeah, what you do is you adopt your meeting schedule, and then we publish it and send it to the various news outlets.
What I'll do is, because we'll do board works in city council that same day, whatever that day would be, I'll get with Ms. Rhodes in the clerk treasurer's office, probably more Sharon Barnard, who does the claims, so we can make sure that she has time to process those claims before we schedule a meeting to have them processed, and she's not ready for it yet. Or, and maybe there's an opportunity to have some reports available.
I just brought it up because it might be nice to move it to the second.
Like the 9th or the 23rd is a possibility. The second would be very difficult, because I know that the clerk treasurer's office would not be able to plans for there.
Mayor, can you give us an update how the committee is going towards the old city hall?
We'll find out tomorrow.
New proposed courthouse, or
Oh,
whereabouts?
I think it's on Old City Hall. Or is it on Old City Hall?
Well, Old City Hall and.
Old City Hall's on the agenda tomorrow, is that correct? I'm correct.
Correct.
Redevelopment Commission.
I saw that.
In addition, so separate from the Old City Hall.
Yeah,
is
how's the
City
meetings,
Court.
how's the
Yeah.
meetings going for the city?
So
Court?
that's an opportunity to have ongoing communication, conversations with Judd and Baylor. Looked at a couple of different properties. Mr. Akers was along for a couple of those visits, existing space that we own, that the city already owns. Have also looked at other spaces that we don't currently own. I also have another option that I need to go down that path and have a conversation with another group.
Just curious.
But I think that's a perfect fit, to be honest. Just go with this word.
Just asking how it's going.
Yeah, it's good.
I was with Judge today, and she actually rather excited, she doesn't foresee any problems at all.
Anxious to see the proposals.
Understand. Any other council comments? No. Look for a motion.
So moved.
Adjourn. Motion by Austin, second by Akers, all in favor?
Aye.